Okay, we got this show on the road. Trying to get Twitch up on my tablet here, and it's decided it needs to update, so I won't be seeing chat for a moment. Currently, I am doing some updating of the plugins in JAWSOM for OHM, which I had decided to start. There we go. We're probably going to be looking into this a little bit today. So for anybody here who is not currently doing this stuff in OHM, JAWSOM works perfectly well, but you kind of have to clone the preferences directory and produce a slightly different version of the preferences.xml file, and then I run it off of a command line. And in a Mac, you know, it's not that hard to do. It's really no different from what you do in Linux or a BSD. If you're a Windows user, as far as I can tell, you're going to be on your own. Now that I've said that, let's go talk about some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. I spent some time setting up relations for Harmony Mill building number 3. And I've spent some time thinking about lifecycle, and I've done a whole bunch of small things. And these are small things that build up to a greater concept, and I want to show how this stuff comes together, and we may make some edits in OHM in order to make it look even better. The OHM inspector has some improvements over the inspector in OSM. The OSM inspector is primarily something that mappers use in order to explore what is actually underlying the rendering engine without going into an editor like ID or JAWSOM. The OHM inspector has evolved a little, and it is moving towards something that's also useful for people who just want to make inquiries about features on the map. And I've shown some of this before, but we're going back to it today to show a path that I think is going to be interesting and important going forward in OHM. This is Harmony Mill Building 3. If you've watched streams, you've seen this before. I've tapped on the Query Features button, which is how you get into the mode for bringing up the inspector. And I'm going to click on, well, let's click on this end of Building 3. This is the first section, because Building 3 was built in parts. So, nearby features. Harmony Building 3. What I need to do is delete the name off of that way, because that way by itself isn't really a building. It's just a piece of one. So that's an editing task I can take care of. This is the extended version of Building 3. This is the original. It was built in 2 stages and completed in 1872. And it was originally, the building in both forms was industrial. But life cycle's a thing. And when Harmony Mill shut down, which was 32 to 36, I believe, they sold it off, and it was converted to what basically appears to have been mixed-use commercial. And it was used that way into the 1990s, and I actually know people who were renting space to run businesses in it. Bunch of different businesses, so there was a certain amount of manufacturing, retail, and wholesale in there. The friends I knew who had space in there were actually running a wholesale business that supplied children's clothing to Target. And in the mid-90s, 2000, thereabouts, the commercial operation pretty much failed. And the whole thing was sold to a developer who converted it into apartments. And so this is all evidence of life cycle. So this is where I have explicitly requested some changes to the inspector. Something that anybody who has a GitHub account can do. And that's a thing worth emphasizing, is that we all know that this project is a work in progress. We all know things that can be better. And the way to do it is to make simple, reasonable requests in GitHub. Anyway, let's bring one of these up and take a look. So this is the original building 3. That tower represents the center section, and that actually was built as part of the extension of the building south. But there are not a lot of photographs of it before the expansion. In fact, that's one of the challenges that I have had, and I'll be talking about that, is that relatively few people have photographs of anything else in the complex that's been uploaded to Wikimedia Commons. And some of this is going to be harder than other stuff, but you see we have the date range, start date 1866, 1870. 1870 is a mistake. And I'll be fixing that, and I'll show you why that's a mistake in a minute, and then I will fix it because I have JOSM running. But then we have the opening paragraph of the Wikipedia article because we've linked to Wikipedia. We can also get to the Wikidata information on it. And we have the last change set, and we have the tags, and this is standard stuff. So this is how we get the photo linked up is with image:1. We could actually have multiple images, and the inspector would handle them all, and I may put in a link to a color image later too, because I can, and I know where to get some that are appropriately licensed. It's a multi-polygon relation because this is going to be the lifecycle path, I think, going forward. There's the value of the Wikidata tag, and there is the correct naming format for the section in Wikipedia. One of the things that's going to happen here is my research on the mills is going to lead me to go to the Wikipedia article and make some updates and improvements. Well documented ones, because Wikipedia editors like it if you can document well. I like it if you can document well. That's really critical to how I am approaching these OHM projects, so I think everybody's going to be kind of happy about how this goes. But, you know, talking about what's going on here, I mean, the point is that, you know, the top half of this is really pretty nice for someone who's not an OHM insider, for somebody who doesn't know the data structures, who doesn't really worry about details of how this all got in there. And it can be better. One of the ways it can be better is if we attach the start and finish date ranges in this display, because that will clarify the life cycle issues. In fact, what we could even do is we could make this sensitive to the time slider value. The time slider is on 1900 right now. So if we featured nearby features whose start and end dates actually match the time slider at the top, and then include the others below it as other relevant features, that would actually be kind of nice. And that would be a way, hopefully not a very complicated thing to do, that would just really advance how this feels to the casual user. So that's kind of the thing I want to go for. So let's go take care of some of these issues. First thing to do is delete the name from this way. And then likewise, this way has a name. Delete that. And it doesn't deserve a name because it's not the complete building. The relationships are complete buildings. So let's go. We're looking at this. We've got versions of Harmony Mill 3. We're just going to have to work our way through this. Okay, I got the right one first try. So end date should be 71, not 70. So we've taken care of those details. Yeah, and it whines about that because it's applying a OpenStreetMap validator. This is OpenHistoricMap, and there are things we do in OpenHistoricMap that aren't really going to fly with the JOSM validator, and that's fine. Tweaks to Harmony 3. Correct end date. And I have to be able to give a source. I mean, what does it mean to give a source error correction? We're just going to call it error correction. Error and tagging corrections will be good. I mean, that's literally what it was. That's uploaded. It is likely to take a minute to fully update. I'm not sure how the inspector knows where the inspector actually pulls from. So let's just go poke at it and see what we get. Yeah, the way still. Okay, it has the name disappearing, but the name is somehow cached. So the way still has a name on it. I don't know when that's going to clean up. But now let's see if the date change is gotten figured out by the tile renderer. Let's go look at what the actual problem was, having that end date be 1 year too small. What it was doing. Building vanished entirely and then reappears, and I think that's cached, so maybe we'll come back and look at this before the end of the stream, and the data will have been updated. So now we're going to look at some other things. So a lot of what I have done so far with Erie Canal has been just putting a center line down the path of the canal. There was a water feature labeled intermittent, which was sitting in this area. That was something that NatFoot entered off of a USGS topo map, and I had been letting it just kind of sit there as a thing that was, you know, legitimately mapped. And then I looked at some of the underlying data and realized that no, this is actual banks of the canal, and that basically let me start pinning some start and end date information, and I reshaped it to actually match the banks off of the 1952 aerial. And I realized that, you know what, I'm in a position to where I could start doing banks. So let's add some banks. Now this is kind of an isolated alien here in 1872, yet it's Erie Canal. Why is that? Well, we're going to run the clock back quite a ways. In fact, I could, instead of stepping one at a time, I probably could take a stab. Okay, you see most of the mill disappears. And then 1842, we see canal behind the Harmony Mill Building 1. Then we go back a little more, and in 1837, we see that that little fragment labeled canal is now part of a larger section of canal, and this leads me into a couple of issues, and we're going to talk about all of them. This is actually that area. So we're going to pull up a little imagery, and the first thing we're going to pull up is off of here. You're doing enough of this stuff, then you end up with a great steaming heap of imagery links. This is the 1852 aerial pass. It's actually been pretty useful in terms of figuring stuff out here. Okay, here's the first thing I do. I kind of position that closer to the center of this old canal section, because this is a section of old canal that persisted into 1952, just kind of a ditch at this point, but this was eventually filled in and a parking lot was put over the top. So if we compare this to modern imagery, and let's find modern imagery, Esri will be as good as any. See, parking lot, North Mohawk, and then parking lot. So what we can do is take a quick stab at putting some banks in here. I'll zoom in and tweak these once the whole polygon is done. Move that the right way, it'll work better. And using the modern waterway tagging scheme, which is different from the older one, the riverbank scheme. There's a big upgrade going on to the way waterways are tagged. It's pretty concentrated effort, which I only found out about recently. But the way to do one of these polygons is with natural equals water, water equals canal. In the case of, Erie Canal, that's correct. End date, provisionally 1952, because that's the latest we've seen it. We are going to be able to improve on this because we have a whole library of aerial imagery over the years in USGS, Earth Explorer, and start date for the time being 1/18/24. It may be slightly earlier than that. That's sort of a matter of old canal records that may or may not exist. So, and then end date EDTF is 1952 / because it's really an interval thing. That's that whole business where we're interested in migrating to EDTF maybe, but we're still experimenting. So now that I've done that, I should probably take a moment to, well, first of all, we can tweak that riverbank in a little closer because that's kind of wider, or canal bank, because that's a little wide around that lock. This is all kind of provisional, and I will be improving it over time as my reference quality improves. Yeah, probably add some more points. Little smoothing by adding points. Make it just look a little less jagged in the rendering engine. I do not want to move the whole thing like that, so undo. So this is old power canal here, but you see the old Erie Canal at some level was repurposed, and that's one of the things that I am pondering and don't have an answer to right now. But one of the life cycle things we need to worry about is for these kinds of long linear connected features like an Erie Canal, as part of the things I think about now and, you know, keep me up at night is how are we going to use the relation system to represent these things? Because where buildings are in relatively small areas and buildings are built possibly in parts, we have a simple way of attacking that. The Erie Canal went through a lot of morphs in its evolution. Individual pieces came and went or were repurposed, and then we have the canal crosses the entire state of New York, and so there's a certain amount of look to OpenStreetMap for the example of how we do highway relations that run the width of the country. Actually, I never did check on Twitch to see if this thing was actually live, so maybe I should see if my stream is really running. Hopefully it is. Yes, it's live, and it's sitting there showing the same thing. I just want to take a quick look at chat to make sure that nobody is talking and I am missing it. Nope, silent in chat. That's fine. So I don't know necessarily how I'm going to be tagging the relations for the Erie Canal. I just know that what I'm doing right now is not the long-term solution. Again, this goes to basic complexity issues, is that some of the online things I've seen, you know, I've talked about this before. Okay, the canal opened in 1824, so declare 1824 was when the canal was built and declare victory, and no, it took a decade or more. Likewise, the canal was enlarged. 1862 was the year they declared victory, so just pin 1862 on it and say that's when it was done. And it's like, no, the enlargement of the canal started almost the instant that it was finished. And, you know, we're seeing the canal, this segment of the canal was used through 1837, and then we have this section of the canal behind Mill Building 1, 1837 start, 1842 end, because they shifted to this one, which is officially part of the enlarged canal. But it was completed and in operation in 1842, so that's 20 years before they officially declared the enlarged canal finished. So, I mean, it's massive oversimplification to pretend that 24 and 1862 are the important dates. And so, you know, given that the place that we're going to end up here is that we want to be able to move the time slider and watch the canal morph year by year as these efforts go forward, we got to have a smarter way of dealing with this stuff. I'll also note that some of these building footprints are obviously off, and I know this and I'm going to improve on them. Oh, and this also could use orthogonalize, so I think MetaQ will, no, cancel that. We'll just use, okay, it's just Q, maybe. Yes, just Q is orthogonalized, cool. So let's upload all this stuff. So improve Erie, Canal, Cohoes, New York, 1852 aerial. Upload. Get that stuff out of the way. So the way that I've been handling the images for all of this is going to Wikimedia Commons. And when I got to Wikimedia Commons on Harmony Mills, the thing I figured out was that not a lot of people ever took photographs of anything other than Building 3. And fortunately, except for Building 2, most of it's all really standing and in good condition. So earlier this week, yeah, it's Saturday, so it was earlier this week. I went up there with a good camera and took a couple pictures to upload to Harmony Mills. Or not, couple of pictures of Harmony Mills to upload to Wikimedia Commons, and I put these under CC by SA4 license. I mean, it's a little dark. I need to take pictures in morning and not in mid-late afternoon, given the orientation of the buildings, because this is really the north-northeast face of the building, and it's too late in the day to have light on any of this other than reflected. But the point is that once it's in Wikimedia Commons, you have the usual list of resolutions, and I arbitrarily, for building, this is building 4. You just go grab the link in the upload directory for the resolution you want, and then make that image 1, building number 4, date the photograph's taken, the license it's under, CC by SA4, and upload those details, and inspector, Harmony Mills building 4. I haven't done the lifecycle stuff on this one yet. That's the thing I need to do, is build up those relations. Right at the moment it's just a way. I actually need that trio of relations representing industrial, commercial, mixed use, and apartment. And there may need to be a disused in there because the apartment project was done in phases. The developer bought all of it, but then he did the buildings one at a time so that he could actually be leasing while he was doing the upgrades to the other buildings to make them apartment. But anyway, this is really, go back out, and if you have a decent camera or even a good phone camera, you can provide the information, put it online in Wikimedia Commons. Okay, this is the office. Building equal office. I should probably put Harmony Mills office in the name. This was the office for the industrial complex, and again, it needs more life cycle work. It was originally the office and some common space upstairs, and right now it's kind of a mixed-use commercial with some vacancies and some active businesses. I mean, it's another thing in the complex that, the real estate developer is dealing with. So we're still working on building this stuff out. Something I haven't done yet is add the image for this one. Industrial boiler house. It's still a boiler house. It doesn't have the image. It doesn't have the Wikimedia links. I've got to do all that. Oh, look, it's starting to actually render the new canal segment. The data is updating into the rendering engine a little bit at a time. things I think I need to do here. One of the things I think I want to do here while I'm here, you know, I've worked through most of the stuff I specifically wanted to talk about. But given all of these building offsets in this 1952 image, what I need to do, browse all mosaics, search for upstate in the title because I know there's only one, upstate New York 52 aerial. This is the mosaic we're using. This is the aerial we're using. Because I am not sure how well aligned this aerial is specifically. Since these buildings have not moved for obvious reasons, since they were constructed in the mid-1800s, they actually make good alignment points. And I have not reviewed the alignment on this image. I have been kind of going through tweaking alignments. Cahoes and Waterford is probably the image. Yeah, that's the one I'm using. I'm trying to improve this aerial. Improve the alignment. Okay, so one of the things that's going to happen when yeah, you see there's a twist to this. When I align it, since I'm going to crop it, I'm going to lose the bottom edge here because I try not to worry about stuff around the outer perimeter. So I'm really, and it's going to be up to me, just go find the image to the south. And upload that and align it. And how does this stuff really look in alignment? Yeah, it's off a little, so it's probably in my best interest to improve this before I do any more mapping off of it, and I can go back and correct things. Yeah, you see there is a swath of Erie Canal bed right behind, and I can map off of that. And then this is the power canal as it looked in 1952. I'm not quite sure how to interpret that. Oh, wait a minute, that's power canal there. Right, because what happened is that this was the west bank of the Erie Canal. The power canal was parallel to it, and there was a point in the 20s when they dug it out. So, and literally this is part of the old Erie Canal bank that is now power canal bank. But be that as it may, let's go back to rectify. This is where we improve it. Yeah, all the control points are looking kind of yellow. Those two are kind of close to the edge. There are areas that would be cropped, and my new policy is that a control point that's in an area that would be cropped is a control point I don't actually want to use, and those are number 1 and number 2. So delete and delete And those are control point. And you see now from all yellow they've gone to 2 light blue, which is almost no error, and 1 green, which is relatively little error. And then since I would like to align Harmony Mills buildings, and in all honesty, Harmony Mills buildings provide really, really good corners. Let's just use a control point on a Harmony Mills building and declare victory. So this is a long, flat building. It's really multiple buildings, but we've got a pretty decent corner right here on the end. What I like to do, since I am sometimes unclear on whether what was actually done in the building mapping, go to Mapbox or something like Mapbox. Actually, this is pretty good. Oh yeah, but we see angle on the sunlight, so this is the roof. What we're really interested in is the ground level. So how are we going to get ground level? That shadow off of the building, and we're far enough off center that there is actually some angle on this, so we cannot assume the roof projects straight downwards. Interesting problem. We know where we need to get. How we're going to get there is interesting. Building corner isn't really going to be great because of that whole altitude thing, unless we can get a building that's close to the ground. This is Vliet Street, and we can see that in 1952 it was straight and then made an angle, and we can see that the highway department dressed Vliet Street and put that big curve in it. In 1952 it passed between these complexes, because this was the old building too that burned down. So we know that this part of Vliet Street did not move. So, oh crap. Dragging mouse on touchpad, bad. The fact that there's a reference point I can zoom in on, good. So instead of trying to line up a building when there's too much shadow and angle on the camera, because that's not going to accomplish what we really want, we're going to zoom in on the intersection of Fleet Street with North Mohawk. Drop that sucker right smack in the middle of the intersection here, as close as I can get it. There. Add control point. And it thinks that's an error, so this is probably a good one to put in if I'm trying to correct things. Go back to pan mode. There was one up here that had been green. Now it's time to go look at it again. As this is this street. That's 0.6, and we can see that when I dropped it, I didn't place it very in the center of the intersection. So just delete it. I could delete it and re-add it, but I've got one pretty close to that spot, so just deleting it should be fine for a quick warp experiment. Let's go back to preview because it's a bigger panel. Yeah, that alignment doesn't look bad. What did happen up here at this intersection? Yeah, this is kind of off. I don't think those have really moved, so on the other hand, I'm not going to map those off of 1952 because I have them very clearly visible. When I call it center, I put it center in terms of intersecting lines rather than looking at the mouth of the intersection, which is the kind of thing that highway departments sometimes address. We've added that, and it's yellow. It's off a little bit, but we're seeing, yeah, the error is only 13, which isn't big, so let's just warp it and see how we end up. That's much squarer than it once was. So up here, Crescent Dam area and the alleged Lake Crescent, because nobody calls it Lake Crescent, but when they opened and Crescent Dam, the politician giving the keynote speech called it Lake Crescent. Look at Fonda Road alignment, because that road, yeah, it doesn't look like it's in the right place, although, yeah. Hard reference points are a problem, because this is, housing developments are all like really new through here. Alignment in Waterford looks pretty good, really. Maybe a tad off here for US 4. That's not awful, and 6th Street and Washington Avenue are almost precisely in the exact place. So I don't think that there's anything to be gained from fussing with this. So provisionally, we're just going to accept this now. And so draw a new polygon to mask. So we're going to do a crop. We crop down to the center because we're going to get overlapping images off of Earth Explorer taken in the same aerial pass. align them and crop them. I want to check one thing. Oh, actually, I can't check that thing here, so go back to the mosaic. So there's our cropped Cahos. What we're going to want to do is go to Earth Explorer and pick up the image whose center is about there. So we got the big Norlite gravel pit there. Norlite is a abrasives manufacturer based in the city of Watervliet, and that's where they get a lot of the material they use in making their products. But yeah, center right there should be a suitable aerial for anyone who's never seen Earth Explorer. This is an incredibly useful resource for aerial imagery of since the 40s, typically. Earliest imagery available. Okay, note that I am logged in, which just happens to be true right at the moment. If you want to download maps, you need to create a login and you need to be logged in. And once again, we have changed to a different interface, and because mouse touchpad moves for these geo views are different in everybody's software package, I of course did something I didn't actually want to do, which is place coordinates. I will want to place coordinates when I am further along. So there's the Norlite gravel pit. We're in about the right place. But we can switch to an OpenStreetMap layer and drop our coordinate where we want to. What I normally do here is drop one point in the circle mode over here in the tab, 1 meter radius, because we really don't need to be fussy here. I want the 1952 aerial pass and none other, so I set that's 11/1/1950, which will do. And then this guy I will set to the same date in 54, and that narrows it down enough that the search will be fast, make it easy to get where I want. If I set the search bigger, I'd get a longer list, but I know exactly what I want, and I know when the photos were taken. I don't want to deal with any others, so we get 4 that overlap this point. So footprint. And I want the one where this is about the center. Bingo. We'll click on download. This can take a little bit. The actual system in USGS website that handles this whole search process at times can be kind of slow, and will live. Although whether or not I'm going to get this image by the end of the of the stream, which is only 9 minutes away. Who can say? But certainly you get the idea. And I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to take that other one. It was further over because I will want to fill in that area too on this mosaic, so I might as well grab them both while I'm here. But with these aerial images, they are surprising amount of enlarged Erie Canal bank survives in the 1952 imagery, so I can start doing canal banks off of it and, you know, make the Erie Canal into less of a line feature and more of a body of water feature, because it was large enough that you know, it shows up. Now what I cannot do, not with references available to me right now, is I cannot, you know, show the width of the original canal very easily. I can do it in parts because I can make the 1834 survey maps line up in places, but I can't make them line up everywhere. And I need to learn more about these old coordinate systems. Okay, this is taking quite a while, and the question you get into when this happens is that you don't know. I mean, it's a Saturday and the system sometimes breaks and doesn't get fixed until the IT people come in on Monday. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that tab sit there. It's trying to do the download thing. And yeah, this is the other one we want. So we're just going to click that same button, get another download tab going. There, we got one. Okay, so okay, save it out. That tab vanishes, and then now we got the other one. Okay, save it out. So we got two downloading. It's going to take a few minutes. And then this is a sneaky little secret in Earth Explorer, is that we haven't been in there too long. It does have a timeout on the logins, but if I just kill this tab right now and don't log out, odds are pretty good that the next time I come back into Earth Explorer, I will still be considered logged in. So that's an extra little tiny bit of energy you do not have to apply when you're moving back and forth between Earth Explorer and Earth Explorer and out of Earth Explorer. So I just kind of come down here. This is area. Okay, so this is the Green Island Bridge. The Green Island Bridge that existed in 1952. And that bridge fell into the water my freshman year at RPI, which was oh so long ago, in spring of 1977. It would have to be, because I remember standing there outside the Carnegie building with a group of people, which included the Dean of Students at the time, Carl Westerdahl, watching the bridge go down below. We were standing up about here on the campus, and you could see the bridge falling into the water, and that bridge was subsequently replaced by the modern one. What had actually happened was that the bridge was owned by the railroad, and the railroad pulled up the tracks and stopped running trains through downtown Troy, and there had been a road alongside the tracks, and they kept on using it for the highway, but nobody took over the maintenance, and so they were using an abandoned bridge for many decades, and no repairs were being done, and poof, one day it fell over. So I guess I should enter that into OpenHistoricalMap and give it the end date of the spring of '76, because I know when that happened. Now, Waterville this is Green Island. Green Island. This is Watervliet down here on the other side of the railroad bridge. The canal ran through here, but it's mostly gone by 1952. And you don't really see a lot of canal here at all because of the urbanization. It kind of ran down on this side of US, well, not US, it's New York 32, which was the old Watervliet Turnpike, which is still visible in 1834 maps. That's a road that basically hasn't moved in a long time. This has been an interesting area to look at in the maps. This was the old Empire Raceways alongside the old version of the 378 bridge. That was replaced by a Two Guys department store, which is subsequently, that building is still there and being used by various IT things. But anyway, we're at the end of our hour. And I think I'm going to shut down. We got useful stuff done and talked about stuff that needs to be talked about in life cycle, and you know, everything is kind of moving forward slowly. So until next time, next OHM Twitch is Wednesday morning 10 p.m. Eastern Time, and tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, adjusted by daylight savings time, I'll be doing a long Zwift ride on this channel. See you next time. Bye now.